So, what if I told you that leadership isn't some mysterious art form, but that there are actual, unbreakable rules that govern success? Well, that's exactly the big idea behind John C. Maxwell's classic, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And we're going to dive right in.
I mean, really think about it for a second. Picture the best leader you've ever worked with. What was it about them? Was it just their job title, their charisma? John Maxwell says, nope, it's something way more fundamental than that.
See, the answer isn't some single magic bullet secret. It's actually a whole framework of powerful, timeless laws. And what's wild is, once you see them, you start seeing them everywhere, in every single successful leader you can think of.
Let's think of your leadership journey like climbing this mountain. It can be tough, right? The path isn't always obvious. Well, these laws, they're your map. They're your compass. They're what guides you all the way to the top.
Okay, so where does a journey like this even begin? It's not with building a team or mapping out a big strategy. Nope. It starts with you. The very first section is all about the foundation, your character. The core idea here, and it's a big one, is that leadership is an inside-out job. You can't inspire anyone else until you're the kind of person worth following in the first place. That right there is the bedrock. And that leads us straight to the first, and you could argue the most important law of all, the law of solid ground.
Simple, but so powerful. Trust is the foundation of leadership. This is the cornerstone of everything. If your people don't trust you, your character, your skills, your consistency, it all just falls apart. Your influence is basically zero.
And you can totally see how the other character laws build right on top of this. There's the law of respect, this idea that people naturally follow those they see as stronger. And the law of sacrifice, the willingness to give things up to move up. It all comes back to having a character that's built on a foundation of trust.
All right, so once you've laid that solid foundation of character, how do you start to build on it? Well, the next step is all about connection. It's about your team.
And this brings us to what Maxwell says is the very definition of leadership. It's called the law of influence.
The true measure of leadership is influence. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, this is a total game changer, isn't it? It means your job title, your position on an org chart, none of that makes you a leader. Your ability to positively affect the people around you is the only thing that does.
And that influence is literally the engine for building a team. The law of connection tells us you can't have influence without a real relationship. The law of buy-in is huge. People follow you first, and then they'll follow your vision. And the law of empowerment shows that the most influential leaders aren't afraid to give power away.
Okay, so you've built your character, you've connected with your team. How do you actually turn all that into real results? This next part is all about the fuel that drives growth. And it all kicks off with a really simple but profound idea, the law of priorities.
This right here is the key distinction. Activity is just being busy. Accomplishment is being effective. Great leaders, they focus their energy on doing the right things, not just doing a whole lot of things.
And when you focus on those key priorities, you start to create this incredible force called momentum. Maxwell has a great name for it. He calls it the law of the big mo. And let me tell you, it is a leader's best friend.
It doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It starts with one small win. Then you get another one. And suddenly, confidence starts to build. And before you know it, you've got this unstoppable exponential force pushing you and your team forward.
So how do you take that momentum and really scale it up? Maxwell's answer is brilliant. He says, to add growth, lead followers. To multiply, lead leaders. That's the secret to explosive growth right there. You don't just gather followers, you develop more leaders. So after all this, character, connection, growth, what's the final destination? What's the end game? Well, it all comes down to your ultimate legacy. Hey, remember our mountain from the beginning? It turns out true leadership was never about just getting to the summit all by yourself.
It's really about what you leave behind for others. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most powerful law of all, the law of legacy.
A leader's lasting value is measured by succession. Just let that sink in for a second. The real test of your leadership is what happens when you're gone. Have you built something and developed people that can carry on and thrive without you? That is the ultimate measure. Look, everyone's leadership journey is going to be unique, but by understanding these timeless laws, you now have the map. So the only real question left to ask yourself is, what will your legacy be?